Good day, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Nate. I'm back today with a DCS video. I do apologize for the last couple weeks. I've been avoiding doing flight sim stuff. I'm actually doing my ATPLs for the second time because I did mine once in Australia, and now I've moved to the UK to live. I'm having to do it the second time, so it's making me not really want to do any flying related stuff. But recently I've decided to get back into flight sims to kind of brush up on my skills and brush up on some of the terminologies and all those other things to kind of keep me going. So back today with a non-fighting version of DCS. We're going to do some NDB navigation. NDB stands for non-directional beacon. Those are these beacons over here. You can see with the circles with lots of little dots. They're actually dotted all over the map. A lot of these airports have them. NDBs are actually being phased out right now in favor of VORs, which are frankly the better navigational aid. And in fact, most DCS aircraft will probably have VOR but not have NDBs. Definitely the FC3 aircraft, none of them have NDBs and they'll have VORs. What I've actually done here is I've actually marked down in front of me on a piece of paper a small flight plan. So we're going to depart Tbilisi, and then we're going to track out to Makrani, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, Gori, to Ali, then to Kutasi, sorry. And I've written down all these frequencies. 520, 462, 353, and we're going to navigate solely by navigation aids, which will be different. And I've also marked down their headings so I can confirm in flight exactly what we're doing. Actually, interesting point. I've been looking for information about this, but according to Mudspike and some of the DCS forums, this compass heading, according to the ruler given by the mission editor in the DCS map, is in fact magnetic. I actually thought for a long time it was true. And some people point out that the fact it lines up with the grid and the grid points north. But actually, this is not. This is a UTM grid. This is called Universal Transverse Mercator grid, which is actually what militaries and governments tend to use for ease of sort of locating things. It's not a lat long grid, so that's not right at all. So, and you can see it's not. It's converse. Like it converges over here. Which is actually about right, because obviously the world is round, so they will in fact converge towards the poles. But anyways, I'm diverging from the point here. So just a simple navigation exercise here, and hopefully on the way we'll get to do some ground speed checks. The MiG15. I've chosen the MiG15 because actually it's one of the easiest aircraft to do this in, and it's very straightforward. I think that's it, guys. So I'll see you guys in the cockpit. All right, guys, welcome to the office. Now, before we go, obviously weather's not great. We need to talk about a few things about the setup. So this aircraft's already set up for takeoff because I was a bit lazy and I put it on a hot start. Your ARC-5 circuit breakers over here, which you would have put on, but the one you want to pay attention to is this one here. Now you want this to be on far because there's two modes, there's near and far. And according to the manual, near allows you to set in some pre-configured NDBs or NDB stations. So you can do those here, supposedly. I've never used them, but that's what the manual says. And then you also want to make sure your headphones are receiving it, which is over here. Now, want to turn on the ARC-5 interface, so let's put on to antenna mode, which gives you a stronger signal, a stronger Morse code signal. And you can see here there's the different frequency bands, 150 to 310 kilohertz, 310 to 640 megahertz, kilohertz, and then 640 to 1300 kilohertz. So our first stop is Makrani, which is on 520. So let's get the map out here. And you can see here at 520 for Makrani. So let's dial that in using the hand crank here. So let's make sure it's on 310 to 640. It's going to be full of static until you pick up a station. And when you pick up a station, it'll go dead silent, and then you'll hear Morse code, which is the Morse code identifier the NDB transmits constantly. I sadly don't have the actual Morse code code that the station is transmitting, but we have to presume it's right. You can hear it there. And that's a signal strength indicator, a reasonable strength. Just make sure it's 520. That's 500, so that's 510, that's 520, so 520. You can fine-tune this, and there is a switch over here to fine-tune the loop sensor, or the loop antenna. The NDB is actually made up of two antennas, which is the sense antenna and the loop antenna. And that's probably a necessary detail to go into here, but needless to say, you can fine-tune that sensor over there. All right, so now that's set up, we can start rolling. Now our first heading is 303. Our NDB is obviously not telling us that, but it's possible that the signal is not strong enough for the sensor to actually show us it's 303. So we're just going to roll down the runway and then get a bit of altitude and see if that changes. Now, weather's not great. I don't have a IFR chart for the Caucasus, sadly, so I don't know what the sector altitudes are, the minimum safes are, but you know, I don't think anything here is higher than a couple thousand feet, so if we give ourselves a reasonable clearance of, say, like 5,000 feet, we should be okay. Or maybe a little bit higher. But what we'll do is we'll just stick above the clouds. I think the cloud layer is probably roughly where the top of the mountains are. And let's hope that the signal actually gives us a more better indicator. So 1303 is our heading. So let's turn left a little bit. All right. Always keep my eye on the artificial horizon, because once we get disorientated, it becomes a little bit difficult to keep track of where we are. I'm just taking note of the time, so we have a way to calculate our time as we and our ground speed as we go along. All right, I think we can level off here quite safely. Just trim. You can see now the yeah, that is straight on our nose, and our heading is 300, so not far off. So what we're going to do now is hold our heading until we get station passage. Now, as over the station, which is what we call station passage, there will be a light. I think it's this light that lights up, and it will give us a buzzer. And also, let me just trim the aircraft out. And also the NDB dial, or the ARC5 dial, will go spin around as we pass over the station. There'll be a zone of confusion, or they should be, where the dial doesn't quite know what's going on. Although I don't think the ARC dial actually has this modeled. I think it just turns. There's no like confusion zone where the dial doesn't know where we are. And that's pretty much it. That's what we're going to do. We got 23 nautical miles to go. And look at our 2,000 meters up, so that's 6,000 feet-ish, which is which was what I briefed myself to fly. We're doing about 212 nautical miles, so 212 knots. Let me just check. Oh, sorry, that's a kilometer. Yeah, so it's 300. We're doing 327 ground speed indicated. I need to trim this out. Come on, trim. There we go. Now, my instructors always told me to keep on that beacon in case something goes wrong, because if the beacon goes off, then obviously something's gone wrong, and you know it straight away. So I'm going to keep that beacon playing, but if you so wish, you can turn off that beacon. All right, 303, which was our assigned heading. Keep this trim. They're still climbing. That's a lot of trim to keep this thing down. So what we want to do is keep the ARC5, keep the ADF on the nose at 0, because it's a relative bearing to you, nothing to do with the bearing. A VOR will give you a bearing to or from the station, but this is just giving you the relative bearing of your aircraft too. So we want it to be on 0, which is directly ahead of us on the nose. All right, the aircraft's in trim. Good. Now we just sit here and wait. Maybe I'll cut this out if the video is too long. But there's not much else to talk about really at the moment. If you guys have any questions, then obviously post them in the comments. Maybe I can help you out. I'm only just a simple pilot, so I only know some things about airplanes. Usually, when people ask questions about airplanes, when I'm in the bar or in the pub, they're usually quite complicated, and usually and it's an engineer question. But I'll try my best. 21 nautical miles if we're doing 200. Yeah, so we should only be a tenth of an hour. So it only should be 5 minutes or so before we get there. And that might be station passage now, as it ticks around the corner. So what we want to do is start dialing up the next station. The next station is Gory, and that's heading 279, and that is 20 nautical miles. So we didn't get you can check with the map to cheat a little bit. Yeah, you can see we're past the station. So what we want to do now is bring up 279. on a more westerly direction. Too much. Let's dial the next station. It's 279. Dial it in. 279. So that's 270. Don't keep my head down too long so I don't get. Make sure the plane doesn't go into a spiral dive. So 279. So that should be 278. Which means that's 279. So 460. Oh, the heading's 279. I'm an idiot. We want 462 as the input. So let's put that in. 462. Always keep my eye on the AH. We'll tilt it to one side. 462. As you see, this is not a very pilot-friendly interface. That's 444, 45, 46. So 462. So that should be it. Now that should be reading the new heading we should fly. Let's see what that brings us to. Now I didn't do it there, but as a good pilot, it's good SOPs to take note of when you passed overhead the station, and usually in terms of the minutes. So I think that was what 00 for me. So because it's 10 o'clock now, what you can do is you can time when you pass the station, and then when you arrive at the next station, that gives you a good ground speed check, and you can check against the wind speed, so that when as you progress through a flight plan, you will get a progressively more accurate flight in terms of the arrival time. And this is important because obviously as a commercial level pilot, you want to be accurate as possible. And in fact, the commercial standard for the Australians is plus or minus 1 minute for your final destination. And for private level, I think it's plus or minus 5 minutes, so it's a bit more generous. I think I'm just going to go cheat a little bit and check the world map and see if we're going right. So you can see the station is slightly to our right, although according to our ADF, it's telling us straight ahead. So we'll just keep flying that. We'll keep flying the instruments. Always trust your instruments, and that is the first thing they teach you in instrument flying, is always trust your instruments. All right, trim's good. I usually just do a little check here. So you check all your instruments one by one. But you always focus on the AH first. You look at your AH, look at your speed, the AH, and you look at your VSI, AH, and you look at your altitude. So you're always checking, you're always verifying. You never lose sight of what your airplane is doing with the AH. Because obviously once you're in cloud and if you're disorientated, then, I mean, statistically, supposedly you have 3.5 minutes before you hit the ground for VFR pilots that end up in IFR conditions. And that's a statistic that the CASA uses and the FAA uses, and I think the CA uses over here in Britain, that 3.5 minutes is roughly how long a VFR pilot has if he's untrained once he's in IFR conditions. So obviously station passage, let's just check if that's true. Yep, station passage. So what we do now is we dial the next station. The next station is Ali, heading 275. So we can kind of keep turn left a little bit, and our NDB frequency is 353. So we want to dial 353. Again, keep an eye out on your AH as you do this. 90, 80, 70. So 135, which is the 35. So that should be it. And looks like we're not far off. There's another thing here, the Morse code. So if we had the actual Morse code breakdown, which I think you can get on the manual or as a user file, you can actually, we're climbing. You see, we're in the cloud. We can't see anything, but we can see we're climbing. So look at the AH. I'm always looking at the AH, and always looking at the artificial horizon. You can get the Morse code breakdown, so you can always verify whether it's the right Morse code. And usually Morse code is, according to ICAO, broken down into either 3 or 2-letter abbreviations. So I used to fly, like, I think Port Lincoln has an NDB, and Port Lincoln was PLC, so the Morse code constantly broadcasts out PLC repeatedly over and over again. So this is only 22 nautical miles, so only a few minutes. And then the next one after that is Katusi, which is our final destination, and that's frequency 477, heading of 268. So we just keep heading west. As long as we keep heading west, we should be okay. So we are almost there, and at this point in the flight, of course, we, if I was really doing a landing at Katusi, I would have the chart out and have the plates out and look at what the landing pattern is for a non-positioned approach for an NDB. Given that the weather isn't great, and of course, if the weather is really that bad, of course we'd have to divert. But as you can see, can't see anything. So just for the sake of demonstration, once I pass overhead, I'll probably descend a little bit. I think the Katusi is on a very flat plane. I think it's almost sea level, so we do have a bit of play in terms of testing the waters. So let's try that out. So currently, I don't think we're far off now. I think we're only a few nautical miles away, and you can. I think the needle, as you see, is a bit more sensitive as we edge closer to Katusi. So let's keep that off our nose. Let's see anything. You can see some trees were pretty. It's not the best. Hopefully we'll get to see the airfield soon. Keep this in trim. Always try and trim. I mean, one of the tips you can have is you can always trim it up. So if you ever let go of the joystick, for whatever reason, the aircraft doesn't slam into the ground. So always keep it trimmed when you're this low level and the weather is bad. But I don't think you see that station passage. Let's see how far we're off. Let's have a look. Let's pause the game and have a look. So we just passed the station, and the weather, you can see, is so bad that we actually couldn't see the station. We couldn't actually see anything. So I'm just going to turn out. Let's see if we can turn around and guide us to the station. Now this is a very silly and risky maneuver. As I said, this close to the ground, this kind of sharp turn, it's very risky. You can just make out the ground from here. Let's descend a little bit. I think we're actually too close. So let's turn around. Try not to stall the aircraft. Speed's getting big. At this point, though, given how bad the visibility is in a real situation, you probably just you'd request a diversion, or you just divert the aircraft. You wouldn't even try, because obviously the visibility is below minima, and any attempt at landing here would be basically suicide. So let's see if we can see the runway. Let's see as we edge really close to the ground if we can see the runway. Yep, so that's over the runway. We're over the airfield now. So, yeah, semi-successful. As you can see in the really bad weather, like I said, at this point, if you would do your approach, you would do your non-precision approach, in this case the NDB approach. You descend onto final, and then you just check if you're visual. If you're not visual, obviously go around, and obviously you can try it again, but at this point I would just divert and say, yeah, can't land here. But that's it, guys. That's a very simple NDB navigation. All right, guys. Well, I'm off to do the next video, so I will see you guys in the next one.